It has been a minute since we talked about an Ohio State Buckeyes prospect. We all know about Marvin Harrison Jr. and some of the defensive guys as well, but this was a team that overall underwhelmed us in 2023, and we were expecting a bit more. Unfortunately, a lot of their guys ended up headed back to college for another year, including Travion Henderson, JT Tuimalau, and Emeka Egbuka. But one player who I think had a pretty solid season and is a name to watch in the upcoming NFL draft is tight end Cade Stover. He was a player who I didn't love entering the year, but he showed some massive improvements in some areas, and now is a guy who I think could be an interesting sleeper down the board. But hey guys, if you guys are new to the channel, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment and let me know which players you guys would like to see me break down in a future video, and without further ado, let's take a closer look at Cade Stover. Ohio State is not necessarily a school that is typically known for producing good tight end prospects or using their tight ends a lot in their offense. Jeremy Ruckert was really the highest one that we've seen in the last few years, but it felt like Cade Stover was really well utilized in the Buckeyes offense. In 2022, he finished the year with 49 receptions, 406 yards, and 5 touchdowns, which for an Ohio State tight end is pretty solid. His 2023 season saw his production increase as he finished with 51 receptions, 576 yards, and 5 touchdowns on the year. It isn't a strong tight end class, but some think Stover could be the best bang for your buck if he's still available down the board. Stover has some really nice size for the tight end position. He is 6'4", 247 pounds, but he honestly looks a lot bigger than what he weighed in at the combine. He's tall, he has long arms, and he's got a very sturdy frame for the tight end position. My big issue in 2022 was it didn't feel like Stover was very advanced as a receiving tight end, but it felt like he drastically improved in 2023. He has really incredible hands, and the football just seems to stick to him. He has reliable hands, and if you throw him the ball in the middle of the field, it seems like it's almost a guarantee that he is going to catch it. He's got really good abilities of just catching the football, and I think he's got some of the best hands of any of the tight ends in this class. Stover as a blocker is not bad, but he also isn't amazing. Where I really saw strides in his blocking ability were as a chip blocker. Maybe not fully trying to block, but making light contact with the defender to throw him off just a little bit and give the quarterback some more time. He really did well in that area, but as a blocker in general, I wasn't super wowed with anything he showed. He didn't have the strongest anchor nor power when laying blocks, and it felt like he took a lot of poor angles. I really want to see him do a better job in consistency in his run blocking, because he has the size, he just isn't consistent enough as a blocker to my liking. Athletically, Stover leaves much to be desired as well. He isn't a very smooth mover, and he's not very quick either. His movements feel a bit clunky, and he doesn't have a lot of speed. He's also not great in yard after catch opportunities because he takes forever to pivot and then turn them into big plays instead of it all being one fluid motion. In a tight end class filled with some really high upside athletes, I could see this really hurting Stover's draft stock. Lastly, Stover didn't show me much as a route runner whatsoever for the Buckeyes. He isn't super shifty, and he didn't really have any quicks to sell his routes on a consistent basis to warrant me really taking him anywhere near the first 3 rounds. People love Buckeyes players every year, and I get it. But Stover really isn't a super elite tight end prospect. His hands are great, and he has solid size, but inconsistencies and a lack of athleticism push him down my board quite a bit. He is my number 8 tight end in the class. The upside is there as a receiver, but as previously mentioned, he's not a great route runner, and we just haven't seen it on a consistent enough basis. He is my number 155 player in the class. Finding a scheme where Stover would thrive is incredibly difficult. He isn't a great blocker, he's not an elite receiver, he's just kinda meh wherever you put him. I would like to see him as more an inline tight end who can chip block a bit and find soft spots in zone to exploit. He is more than likely a tight end 2 at the NFL level, rather than being a starting caliber tight end. My player comparison for cadestover is Los Angeles Chargers' newly acquired tight end, Hayden Hurst. Hurst has been fine in the NFL. He really hasn't been super incredible. He's an okay blocker, an above average receiver with great hands, but he's been more of a number 2 tight end in his career, all of which I think are very similar to Stover. They have very similar measurements and athletic scores as well, so I think he can be a very similar type of player to Hayden Hurst at his best. Cade Stover has sticky hands. The ball seems to always find the way into his hands, but it just doesn't feel like he has a super high ceiling in the NFL. Ultimately, I believe Cade Stover will be a day 3 pick in the 2024 NFL Draft.